Today's reading will be a bit of a talk and probably a lot more of a channel. And it has to do with the assertive, receptive energies manifested in the archetypes of the feminine and the masculine, and the thought experiment of, kind of taking a feather out of Einstein's cap and kind of, if you feel stuck or trapped or like you can't move and do anything, you just can't do that. You need more information and you just don't know how to get that information. That's what this reading is about, is to help you kind of get outside of your own stuck space in your head, to help you with that guidance out of that space. I'm going to be doing a bit of a exercise myself. As I'm going through this, I'll be doing some automatic writing to kind of help it flow through me. So you may hear that scratching in the background as I'm going through the sound of it on the paper. So let's jump into it here. Okay. So what do we know about the archetypes of the masculine and the feminine? Well, we know that feminine is, it's more receptive. The masculine is more assertive. Yes. We know that, but it's more than that. It's more than that. We also have to add in some logic will be, present throughout this as well, because we have to be able to wrap our human minds around it, right? So we need some logic. We need to be able to understand what's going on, to ground it into our reality. Otherwise, it's just so hard to apply it in our daily lives. So for this reading, it's being guided for me to speak more from the feminine perspective, as I am a female. So I will be able to speak from my experience, and then knowing that my life has been divinely guided, that I came into this life with a contract, that my soul had already been, these are things that I want to be able to do and achieve, and that this work is something that has been part of my plan before I even incarnated, and that it has been guided and aided and supported by divine. My experiences or awareness in each moment of my life was meant to bring this very message to you. This will also have, as my experience has been, I have been able to, through very deep and personal conversations with different male figures in my life, been able to gain some honest insight into understanding their perspectives from their own words. So, to begin with, we are going to do the thought experiment where we follow Einstein. We kind of go, all right, well, for a moment, let's just say I'm pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is I'm aware that I am existing in this moment, that my pen is gliding over the page, that I'm relatively comfortable in this space and the temperature. These kinds of things ground you in your awareness. So you use these things as anchors for your consciousness. This is who you are. For this thought experiment, this is all that you are in this moment. You're not a man. You're not a woman. You're not anything but this awareness. In this moment, you can place that that part of you, say it's just off to the side, it's on the table, it's within reach, it's not separate from you, it's there, you're aware of it, but it is not who or what you are aware of in this moment. You are not that in this moment. Okay. Now, speaking from the feminine perspective, I'm guided to share that I've had teachers, if you will. I have had many, many bad experiences with men in my life, but I've had some very, very beautiful, loving, healing experiences with a very few. However, they have been the contradiction to the norm that allowed healing to occur. To bring this into more of a human way of relating to this dynamic, it would be, I had a father who meant well, but was dealing with somewhat of a disability. So he couldn't really be there for me as he maybe originally had planned to when he incarnated. And it meant that my mother was able to meet my daddy. Now, these words have meaning unique to me. They will have meaning unique to everyone. I am aware that some individuals have encountered experiences in their life where that word is actually a very negative word. Do know that when I use this word, it is from my own experience, and to me, this means that this person did not have to choose to treat me as though I were his child. He did not have to choose to love me unconditionally. He did not have to choose to be the father I should have had my father not had this injury and this disability. So he earned the affectionate term that I gave him. So I would be able to ask him questions that it wasn't, appropriate or safe to ask other, adult men in my life. It wasn't a question that would typically come up between a student and a teacher, for example, just because it's a different setting. This was my dad. I could ask him questions about why he got so upset there, or why he did this, or why he was so mad about that, or why he didn't want me to do this or that. And it allowed me to understand that what underlied every emotional reaction within him was an incredible need to protect that which he felt was his. And he saw me and my mom and my sister as his. We were his family. We were his daughters. My mother was the love of his life. And he was protective of what was his. These are his instincts. It also, throughout the years, helped me to see how the way society raised men versus women would lead them to react in ways that to handle the same situation differently. That they would handle the same situation from a very different intellectual and emotional perspective. Now, people in our generations, and the newer ones, hi Kitty. Yes. My cat has, he's decided to join us. Okay. I guess he wants to be pet instead of me scribble on paper. All right, getting back into the flow. All right, here we go. Thank you for bearing with me here. So, at one point, they would give girls dolls and boys Legos. They very muchly just as society separated the two and how they treated them and the ways that they encouraged their brains to develop were very, very different. We cannot ignore that there is a generational factor here in how the brains were nurtured from birth in a gendered way differently from generation to generation. You also have to keep in mind that this is also an influence in how we're raised. How were our parents nurtured in this way to be gendered, right? And how does that affect us? This is the very essence of what it is to inherit challenges, to overcome, to heal, to alchemize them. It's not necessarily, I don't like the term curse, because in a way, it's an opportunity to heal. It's so healing, the opportunity to overcome these things within yourself. And it's challenging, and it's scary at times, and I am so excited to be able to be living in this time. Wow. What were they trying to get me to say there? It started with an M. To live in this time, because there is so much availability of information. The question now is, what is this, what's the source of this information? Is it meant to harm, or is it meant to help? Is it meant to heal? Is it misleading, or is it truthful? The need, unlike ever before in our history that we're aware of, for discernment to be honed and sharp is very, very muchly important in this time because of this very factor. So we have to be able to tell the difference about everything coming at us. As empathic and sensitive beings, this is very challenging at times. And more than likely, your person that you're watching this channel for, you're here tapped in for, they are sensitive and aware of these things too, but they have different filters than you through which they view and relate to the world. These filters are those inherited views that were programmed through their environment into them and how to view the world. They decide which ones they want to keep, and they decide which ones they would like to change. And some of them, they haven't necessarily even been challenged to be aware that they're there yet. And there's a certain wisdom in this. There's a certain wisdom in this, because in becoming aware of them, they get to consciously choose. From the feminine perspective, speaking to the collective tuning in that is very muchly wrapped up and involved in somewhat of a blessing that has continually come to you over and over in your mind will not stop thinking about them. Know that your blessing, this person, this individual that you cannot stop thinking of, is also unable to stop thinking of you. The reason for that is because you both have manifested each other, and you continue to manifest each other. The divine, that spark, that intuition, that connection to all that is within you, there's this very intense, stuck feeling to it. Like a bit of frustration. It's like, why can't you two just talk to each other already? There's so much moving around you that you don't necessarily see or you're not aware of that's doing everything it can to support you in just opening up that conversation of honesty, transparency. The reason why there's so much resistance within you to this, and understandably so, is because you are terrified of being vulnerable. Being vulnerable, expressing your feelings, your emotions, your desires, is giving someone else power, is how you view it, because you're viewing it from a wounded state. You're viewing it from whenever this has happened, bad things followed. Yes. However, This is the divine within you both going, you guys are manifesting each other. Would you just talk already? At this point, opening up and being vulnerable here doesn't necessarily mean that you're like, hey, let's get married. It does not mean that. Okay? That is like going from planet Earth and asking someone to take a step up or a step forward and going all the way to Pluto. Yes, all the way to the dark shadow side, healing, all of that stuff, like going all the way there. You don't need to go all the way there. You're not there. You're here. You're taking a step forward. Yes, it's saying, you matter to me. That's all. You matter. Okay, so what could they do with knowing that they matter? There's a reason that they matter to you in this moment. There's a reason. And there is so much of the divine present within this. So much. There's a reason why. This step. So you stick your big toe in the water. You see how it feels. You get a feel for it. See how it reacts to that. The situation, the dynamic, the feelings within you. Observe what's happening within you. Then observe what's happening within this individual. Now, speaking of this from the feminine perspective, excuse me, my hands are getting a little animated here. Speaking of this from the feminine perspective, how I would, as a woman, I do have very masculine energy within me and have no problem standing up for myself, speaking my truth, being vulnerable, being open, because to me, there is strength to be gained from that stance. I am not misunderstood. I am not hiding who I am from myself. And in being open and honest about myself, others can gain insight into themselves. I am being that mirror. This individual is more open than you. This individual is finding more strength in being open, receptive, being that mirror. They're less scared of being hurt than, I don't want to say than you. They're just more accepting that it's part of life, that it happens, that it's going to happen whether they want it to or not. If it's meant to happen, it will happen. But if it's not, if they do not participate, they're guaranteeing that it will happen. So what they're doing is they're stepping up to that plate and they're going, I'm here, I'm showing up, where are you? I am letting you know that you matter. And you're not reciprocating that. Correction. There is reciprocation, but it's you're missing each other's intensity with it. It can mean something really big to you, but she's not understanding that because you're not really letting her in. It's kind of like sign language. If you don't understand each other's sign language, you're not going to get it. Because a lot of what's being done for communication between the two of you, especially in the physical, is unspoken. It's assumed. And when you assume things, there is the potential for things to not go as you would like them to, simply because things are going to get missed in translation. If they do not get to talk to you, to ask you questions, to clarify, to make sure that when they say X or Y or Z, you're actually understanding them. Because it may mean one thing to you and a totally different thing to them. And that requires there to actually be communication. So even though you could have said or done something that meant everything was great to you, they may not be on that page with you at all. And that's why this is happening. That's why you're both kind of in this stalemate position. So what is stopping you from moving forward? What is stopping you from opening this communication? Because remember, you're just consciousness right now. You're not a man, you're not a woman, you're just consciousness. What is stopping you? Fear of being rejected? Ooh, that's a charged word. Everyone ever has always had that fear. You're not alone in that fear. So what happens if you are rejected? Okay, you can go down that path. Okay. What happens if you're not rejected? And surprisingly, this is the one that you fear the most because you don't know how to do that one. What does it look like when you're actually loved back? And this is also going from taking a step forward to Pluto. Because in this moment, you're maybe saying, hey, I'm sorry, I could have handled that different. Whoa, that word, I'm sorry. In saying that, you are demonstrating to this individual that you are consciously in control of your life and your ego does not direct where you go. Do not get me wrong. Your ego, if you are consciously directing your life, and this energy, this person that I'm channeling insight into for you, this person is consciously leading their life. Their ego is present, but they are consciously leading their life. They sit with their ego. They've befriended their ego. They work and heal with their ego, but they do not direct the show. They consciously choose where they go. And their ego is there with them through it, but they consciously choose the path that they go. So when you demonstrate that you are going to lay down that ego and that pride and say, you know what? No, you're not directing the show here. I am. I'm choosing my path. I am directing the path that my boat navigates in this sea and ocean of life. I'm choosing which direction we go, not you. You're demonstrating that not only that you're capable of that, but that they matter enough for you to do that. Because you do not do this lightly. This is not an easy thing for you to do. This is very hard for you. Because your ego is so protective of your heart space. So protective. And that happens in life. There's a lot of things that are unfair. There's a lot of things that are challenging, that are hurtful, that are painful, that are just flat wrong. But this situation that you find yourself in is your justice. You have called for justice, and this is your good karma coming in. You have kept your light alive during all of this. And you did that not just for yourself, you did that for those that you care about around you. And you nurtured it and you protected it, and you did not let your ego squish it. Snuff it out. You did not let that happen. Instead, your ego became super protective of it, almost to the point of suffocating it. And then you had to intervene consciously to make sure that your heart got to breathe, because you would not let it die. This is not easy for you. Now, this energy that you're working with, this individual, they are aware of things going on around you that you don't know, that you don't see. They actually have insight into you that you do not know that they know. They are incredibly intuitive, and it scares the crap out of you. Because you're also incredibly intuitive, and you're not used to someone being your equal in that, or near you in that, in strength. What they see is those around you that like having you in this state and benefit from it. And they see you enabling that, allowing it to stay. And they know that if they were to do anything to point this out to you, they would lose you completely. So they observe you like a person in the ocean with a cut and sharks circling around you. And they go to give you a life raft, and you're mad at them for it. You are of the illusion that the sharks are not going to hurt you or that they're your friends. They want to help you, but you won't let them help you because you think that they have an agenda, because others have pretended to help you, but really they helped you into waters with more sharks. And you're not down with that. You don't want any more sharks. And I don't blame you. That's got to be terrifying, right? As a metaphor, of course. If they are to assist or try to assist or push their way in and you don't invite them or you don't want them in that space from the beginning, they know that they're sabotaging it by even just being there, because you don't want them there, because you are not making it obvious that you do want them there. So not only do you outwardly appear to not want them there, the sharks are more likely to attack them because they're taking away their food. So they are in an incredibly vulnerable position. They can't communicate with you. They can't open up to you. Open up to you is to lose you. So that's their side of it. So that leaves you with, what do I do? Because now they're not wanting to throw you the life raft anymore. And you're surrounded by sharks and you have a cut in your leg and time is running out. Time is running out before they're not in the vicinity to hear you holler for a life raft. A floaty, some kind of something that you could grab onto, a rope attached to it, and they could pull you ashore. They could pull you on board. It's a real conundrum that you've found yourselves in, because I get the feeling that they have tried to give you this life raft many times, and you have just you batted away. You batted away. But you don't realize necessarily that that's what they're doing, because you're so used to seeing sharks, you may think that it's like a shark fin slapping you and not an actual like inner tube kind of a deal thing to pull you on board the ship. You may be in such a state of panic you don't see it for what it is. So, having this example, I feel that there's some of you that are having some eye-opening moments, that every time this individual communicated with you, they were wanting to bring truth to you. They were wanting to help you. Because for whatever reason, I don't know, why do you want to be eaten by the sharks? What's going on here? What are you doing? Every time that you would not take what they'd give you and go with it, you would choose to go another direction, you would choose to give to something else, you would choose to believe the worst of them instead of the best. You were chipping away at their heart. You were inviting them to shield their heart from you. And now, maybe you see the blessing that they were. And you're at that point where you're about to cry out for help. You're about to say, you matter. You matter. I matter. I would like to live. I'd like to not be in this state as, the proverbial shark snack whenever they decide to take a bite. I would like to not be in this state anymore. And you matter. Your light matters. You're concerned that it's too late and you may just decide not to holler. And I can't help it, but the feeling that I get from that concept, that timeline, you are strong, you are resilient, you are intelligent, you are capable, and you are worth it to yourself, because there are others around you who are in that water with you. And they deserve to have a chance just as much as you do. And that chance for them begins with you putting down your ego and asking for that buoy, that life raft, that rope attached to the donut to be thrown to you one more time. Do you think that they don't know that you've had a hell of an experience and that you're going to come out of that experience with some baggage? Of course they know that. How many times did they continually throw it to you anyway, even though they knew that? They know that. And this, you don't know how to do it, and that's fine. The two of you will find your way, and it begins with talking about it. Honestly, what do you need? Not want. What do you need? And then the two of you putting your minds together to make that happen, to logically use your strengths as a team to achieve that. I have observed two individuals that have been through so much in their lives that they learned what not to do. They overcame so much karma, so I didn't have to. I learned so much from them. So much from watching them live their lives. All of those that are in that water with you, and you're bleeding, surrounded by sharks, they're going to learn so much from this experience by observing you that they are not going to have to overcome themselves, because you will be living the example of how to do so. What you're basically doing by modeling this is giving them the cheat codes on how to overcome the karma that they're inheriting from your bloodline. This could be parents, aunts, uncles, and definitely children. And that could be nieces and nephews. Not necessarily are we coming into this conversation with you having children involved already, but you may have children, and they may benefit so much from watching you two learn how to be one another, a team, in spite of all the challenges and the chaos that may come at you. Being able to find that peace within one another every day, where you can be in that receptive state because you have acted assertively in your world around you to protect that space of being receptive within your home, being there for each other, being aware of one another's strengths, observing, supporting, building, bolstering, and if there's children involved, modeling that, but also being 100% there for the children when you are there. You are theirs. You are 100% present with them. Because they're going to be inheriting these challenges. And they need that relationship to develop the teeth for overcoming it, if you will. Now, I will say that there is both sides of this have experienced the toxic of the opposite sex, the toxic versions, the toxic karmic ick, and that's where a lot of these triggers come in. I have the sense of there's a lack of awareness of how much each other is actually overcome. There's a lack of awareness of how much strength on both sides it has taken to get to this moment. But that is one of the gifts that the divine is giving the two of you, is the ability, the opportunity, the chance to embrace this, and the opportunity to unwrap this gift. Because in each of you, there is so much strength that you have displayed in overcoming the obstacles that got you to this point, that were trying to prevent you from getting here, that you overcame. There's so much strength. Every step was an act of love of self, yes, but it was also an act of love of divine and an act of hope for a better future. One where they are not alone, where they are seen, where they are appreciated, where they are loved for who they are, and they're not alone in overcoming the challenges that life presents, to nurture that next generation, to teach those around them through action, through authentically living their truth. From the feminine perspective, which as this channel, I am female, I have a bit more insight into what it is to be female in my generation, in my culture, in my time. This may not be exactly for everyone in the collective, but to continually choose to keep your heart open, to see the good in people in spite of all the evil and cruel and unfair and critical and just all the reasons to close your heart, instead of closing it, allowing it to remain wide open and choosing to open it even more. To be able to authentically own that takes incredible strength to survive doing that, not only to survive it, but to develop the ability to alchemize the pain into light, into love, into joy, into appreciation for the beauty in life. Your greatest challenge, and this may be for more in the collective, this is more general. Your greatest challenge with this receptive energy, with this feminine receptive archetype, is that she's perfectly happy being alone. She is her own best friend. And she sees all the pain, she feels it, she experiences it, she alchemizes it, and she opens her heart and her awareness even more. Your greatest challenge will be to accept this in her. It's not an obstacle to overcome. It's not to make her need you. It's to know that she is her own best friend. To know that she has learned, she's had to in order to be able to do what she's doing, to fall so incredibly deeply in love with herself, to be able to do this alchemizing. So that means she's deeply in relationship with her higher self, and she's tapped into her spirituality, her divine, her source, her higher dimensions, however you want to label this, because it's unique for whomever it is resonating for. It is not exclusive, it is inclusive. That will be your biggest challenge, because at times you may want to have her attention or her focus like that be for you. Her to feel like that for you. the solution to this, because you may feel this at times. This is very human. This is very human. It's part of the challenge of this life. It's part of what you are here to learn. And it's about learning and healing about your, like, within you. That part of her that she has fallen so deeply in love with exists within you as well. I would invite you, instead of to, kind of be like, hey, like, why don't you feel like that about me, from the very human perspective, to question, like, what did she discover inside of herself? And do I have that inside of me? And can I find that inside of me? What is that to me? And there's the invitation to be curious about discovering that very same thing inside of yourself. To be your own best friend, to be perfectly okay by yourself. And at this moment, when you do say, hey, I'd kind of like to not be in the shark-infested water and maybe give everybody else down here with me a chance to not be here too. Help? Could you throw that to me one more time, please? That'd be great. You have to take that step to ask for it. But in that moment, it's not a I need you to be okay. It's not a I'm dependent on you. It's not giving power in that essence. You do not need them. They do not need you. But you choose to be in communication like that. You choose that because you are okay by yourselves. I don't know how you're doing it down there, how you're keeping them sharks at bay when you're bloody. Maybe you're punching them. I don't know. Like some recollection of like a SEAL thing where they talked about how they just punch the shark and it'd go the other direction. I don't know. Maybe you're doing that. But you got to be getting tired. It's not that you're not capable. It's that you're stronger together. Because you're not codependent, you become interreliant, making you stronger and nurturing everyone around you in modeling the difference between codependency and interdependence. Interdependence is a choice. Codependence is almost parasitic. Codependence is one person is strong and the other uses them to make them feel safe, to tell them what the world is, to direct them and make up their mind for them, and such things like this. It's basically they become you. That is parasitic. Interreliance is choice. There is so much freedom in that. There's a memory coming forward of a comedian who said, my mom and my dad are just great because you know what? My mom still might leave and my dad's just grateful she's stuck around and like she keeps hanging out. And it's the concept that you don't need one another to be whole within yourselves, that you could do what you need to do to be happy within yourself, to manifest within yourself. The choice in coming together is that, yeah, there's always the option to walk away, but it's not the option you choose. Notice in the joke, it was not implied that his mom left. It was always that she could, which meant that the two of them appreciated the fact that they were present with one another. But it was definitely obvious that there was a choice involved, because he was still receptive to her still being interested in being there, and she was still choosing to be there. That is interreliance. That is not codependence. Codependence is I can't leave you even if I wanted to. Or I'm choosing to hobble myself so that you have to take care of me and I know that you feel responsible. And I know that you will feel like you must carry me. So I'm hobbling myself so you do. That is parasitic. That is not love. This connection, this individual is the answer to what you have been praying for. Whether you sat down and specifically spoke these words out loud or said them in your head to the divine, your heart has been crying out for this. And the divine, if anything, will listen to your heart. The challenge that you have in this situation is for your mind to pull itself out of this 3D construct of this concept that they must be, all these superficial things to meet your criteria to fit in with your world. Have you ever thought that the sharks maybe aren't your friends? That they don't have your best interest in mind? Why would you want your person to be approved by the sharks around you? Now, in this metaphor, there are sharks and then there are your people. Not everybody around you is a shark. That is definitely highlighted in this channeling. So, it's not a you surrounded by everybody else and everybody else is bad. If that is something that's being communicated to someone in this collective, which I definitely get the vibe that that is, this reading is to highlight that difference for you. If this individual wants you all to themselves, that is parasitic. That is codependent. If you do want to have this individual in your life, if you do feel this pull to them, regardless of this dynamic, this situation is meant to galvanize them to heal, to trigger them to awaken, to trigger them to heal, to find the pieces of themselves that they need to be whole within themselves. That is what this channeling is for this collective, that is the subgroup within the collective. Because they can be your blessing. They're just not ready. They need you to trigger their healing with the, hey, I can't carry you. I can't be your compass. You need to follow your own. And they may go away and go through a dark night of the soul and come back to you. That may be exactly what is meant to happen. But it also is a mirror for you. How are you playing codependent in your own world that you're able to see at this point how codependent that individual is? You are meant to go on your own healing journey as a result of this. But you were trusted in this moment by the divine to be able to do that with this individual. And I get a very strong impression that you are incredibly protective of this person because their heart is so innocent and so pure, and you are so protective of it. It's hard for you to hurt them, to send them into a dark night of the soul. It's very, very hard for you. But I will have you know this. They don't wish to remain as they are. They don't know what to do. They don't have the answers. But in this moment, you are loving them so much that you are sending them on this journey to look within, to heal, to find their connection with divine, to do the soul retrievals that they need to do to bring all of themselves back to themselves. So when they come back to this moment and you both are on the other side of your healing journey, they are not going to look at you with hate. They are not going to look at you like you're some messiah either. They're going to look at you like you're another person, just like them, another consciousness, just like them, and you're perfectly imperfect for them. And they're really, really curious about finding out all the ways that that is true. They're looking forward to understanding themselves because the only pieces that they have yet to get belong in you. They're in you. You hold the pieces of them that belong to them that they have not retrieved yet. You're carrying those pieces of them. They're looking forward to understanding all the ways in which you are perfectly imperfect for them. And I say perfectly imperfect because that's kind of a loaded statement, but add this experiment or thought experiment to it. According to who? What is perfect according to who in your terms versus theirs? What you see as an imperfection, they can see as absolutely amazing and makes them fall deeper in love with you. But the people around you have got it into your mind and your heart, into yourself, that this is an imperfection, but they absolutely love that part of you. They would trade that part of you for anything. In fact, it's required you have that part. They won't recognize you without it. So these things that you possibly are feeling are just all the reasons not to, that you're so insecure. Maybe you have some truth that you weren't supposed to share then, but you know, it's time. It's time. Maybe that truth, especially when you deliver it with honesty, consideration, because you are protective of that heart, they will be retrieving a part of themselves back from you. In that moment, you will be healing them as well as yourself. And their reaction will surprise you. Just as much as what you share surprises them, there will be healing, and you will observe how rare each other is, thus the surprise. You two are the contradiction to every rule that you've encountered in your lives for one another. Every single time that you expect it to go a certain way, they contradict you. But you have to give them that opportunity. If you don't show up, you're basically not showing up for your own life. You're not showing up for yourself. So you have to let them know that you're not going to bat away the lasso, the life raft, the inner tube with the rope attached to pull you and everyone that you love aboard. Away from these sharks. You have to let them know that this time you're gonna get the help. You're gonna take it. You're gonna allow the divine to intervene and help you. Help yourself. This is how you get out of this stalemate. As you set your ego down. It's not kill your ego, it's set it down. Your ego is a powerful ally. And you need to befriend your ego. Your ego needs to back off on this one, or your ego is really, really harming you, not helping you. And your ego needs to know that. You need to make it very apparent how much your ego would be screwing you in this moment, and everyone you love. Because you won't be the best you for them. The greatest gift you can give anyone in your life is your best version of yourself. And they deserve for you to put that time and effort into yourself, to be that for yourself and them. Okay, we're going to end the reading here. I hope that this was helpful and insightful for those of the collective. The divine within me honors the divine within you. Namaste.